morning, everyone. This is Boen with the Iredell Statesville Schools, and we are here today for the WSIC Eye on Education. We are on the show every Tuesday at 11:05 to talk about what's going on in the Iredell Statesville Schools and across Iredell County. This is a 30-minute show that we do every week. We actually replay this on WSIC throughout the week, and we talk about all kinds of different things. Just a little reminder, Iredell Statesville Schools, we serve over 20,000 students at 38 different school locations. We are one of the largest employers in Iredell County and are proud to serve the children of Iredell County. Little nugget of information: to drive from our northernmost school in Iredell County to our southernmost school in Iredell County, which is Cottle Creek Elementary School, can take you about an hour. So Iredell County is a long county. We have some very rural schools, and then we have some schools that are really close to Charlotte, bedroom community to Charlotte down in Mooresville. So we serve all kinds of folks. But I would like to welcome our guest today. Chris Auld is our honored and esteemed guest today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here this morning.
So here's the deal. Chris Auld is the Iredell Statesville Schools Teacher of the Year.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that is, in my opinion, and having worked in public education for 30 years, number one, I think that teaching is the noblest calling. There's just really not anything else that you can do in this world and make the kind of impact that, in my opinion, that a teacher can do. And so
I agree with that.
I want to thank you for your service to our children. It is such a noble calling, but also, in my opinion, being named the Teacher of the Year is the highest honor you can receive.
I'm still very taken aback and humbled by it. When I received it, there were a lot of people I thought that were more deserving than I was, so I don't take this lightly. I'm honored with it, but there are so many people that are willing to, that I think would be very good at representing what this award is, so I'm very conscious of that.
Humble. You're humble.
Yes,
of course.
I am.
And I would expect nothing less of you.
Yes.
So just so our listeners understand how the process of being named Teacher of the Year, I really think that being named Teacher of the Year at your school actually, to me, is the highest honor. Because in order to get chosen as the Teacher of the Year at Lake Norman High School, you had to be nominated by your peers.
That's correct. So the peers there nominate, and then they finalize the nominees, and then your peers vote on that. Mm-hmm. And I was more surprised than anybody when they selected me at Lake Norman High School to be the Teacher of the Year there. And that was just, again, honor, because this is your own peers,
right, that
are saying, we think well of you, that you deserve this honor. So that was a huge deal to me.
Those are the folks that you work in the trenches with every day.
They see me every day in and out.
So at each of our 38 locations across the district, we named a Teacher of the Year. And so we did celebrate those folks last week. And I definitely want to give a shout out to those other all those other folks that won that recognition in their school.
Wonderful people all over the district.
I always have said over the years, as when I was a building level principal and I looked to hire teachers, if on your resume it said that you'd been Teacher of the Year, I'm probably going to offer you a job, because that means, number one, you work well with others and you're highly respected for the work that you do.
That's
so
correct.
That always is something that that'd be, if it was on the resume, I'd say, tell me about being named Teacher of the Year. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
I think that what makes this even cooler is what you teach.
Yes, that's
and
correct.
I know we've talked about this on the radio show before, so hopefully we've got some other listeners on today. Before you tell us what you teach, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. How long have you been in public education? Where are you from? All that good stuff.
I actually.
What does your wife do?
Okay.
Because I kind of know her too.
Yes, you do. I am actually from Ohio. through, we've been in North Carolina really for almost 30 plus years now. I moved to the Mooresville area. Just say this, I was actually a youth pastor, assistant pastor for about 25 years, which was what brought me here to Mooresville.
Okay.
And so through what happened in the economy in 2008, they could no longer keep me on staff, and so I was in the midst of a job transition. Thinking
wow, that's really interesting.
So that was about 2008 and 9, and I'm thinking I was going to become a head pastor. That didn't work out. So in the meantime, the process, I actually started out as a substitute teacher, and then at Cottle Creek Elementary, Brian Foster hired me to be his TA and bus driver, which I was there for 3 years.
So you started out as a teacher assistant and a bus driver at Cottle Creek Elementary School.
Yes. So that's where it began.
See, that makes the story even better.
Yes.
Yep.
And so the more we realized that ministry was not going to be the door for me, over just a process of time, I really started loving working in the school system. At that point, I worked a lot with fourth graders. Worked with a wonderful lady by the name of Miss Yerger, and she just had a love for kids. And so as my wife Bonnie and I were talking, I just really felt like, let's just make a move in this direction. And we knew there was a Bible history program teaching class out there, but it wasn't available. So what I began to do was ask, what do you need? And I think the first thing was mentioned, we just really need middle school math teachers. So
some things never change.
So I was in the process of testing for that, and getting prepared for the test for that. And the night before I was going to take the final, my wife Vonnie looked on the job site, and there was a Bible history position at Statesville High School. So we went right away, and just a lot of people put in good words for us that knew us, and Dr. Bradley at that time hired me, and at that time I was teaching at Statesville and what was called Monticello. And then Keith Gentle at the time heard I was there.
Right.
So he said, well, I want him here too. So that first year I would start at Lake Norman. I would get in my car, drive to Monticello, and then I would finish my day at Statesville High School with probably just about 25 kids per class. My wife is an instructional facilitator over at Cottle Creek, so she was really helpful in me getting started that year. Sarah Pasley would be another one who was very helpful to me.
Yeah, I bet that being married to Vonnie Auld was a little bit helpful for you as you entered the classroom.
Yeah, she probably every night was just kind of guiding me through a lot of things. And so that first year, I was probably doggy paddling all year. But what I really liked about that first year was I don't know that I could have got a more diverse set of schools that I went through. And I learned more than I dreamed possible in that first year with all the different schools and the settings and the environments that I worked at. So
let's go back to fourth grade teacher assistant. So did you learn a lot about North Carolina history when you were in fourth grade?
I would say
being from Ohio,
I did, and I would say really what it became, the thing for me became working with the students that were having difficulty reading. And that's what I became was, I'm not saying reading specialist, but I just worked with those students quite a bit. Which the other thing that was interesting this year, those students in fourth grade they are my graduating seniors this year at Lake Norman. So it is really odd, strange to see those students graduate this full circle through that. But I spent a lot of time with Miss Yerger just working with those kind of students that need help with the reading.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of my career in elementary, and I always loved fourth grade because they teach North Carolina history, and that was always so much fun. We did the lighthouses and
we had all of that. They took them, I know, on some of those field trips.
Took them to Raleigh.
Right. So there was a lot of that, and those were wonderful students and wonderful time to work with that.
Yeah.
I would say, I liked working with them. Probably not my calling to be like an elementary school teacher. I work better with high school students. But I did enjoy that time with them. But just as a teacher, I realize I'm more cut from a cloth of working with high school students.
So let's talk about what class or classes you teach.
Okay.
Tell us what classes you're in charge of teaching, and how many students do you currently have on your roster?
When what I teach is there's 4 Bible classes. There's a Bible 1, 2, 3, and 4. It is just a different part of the Bible. It's not sequential in any way. It's just for naming purposes. So we will, like, if you take Bible 1, it's like Genesis to Ruth.
Okay.
And so, like, this semester right now, I'm teaching a Bible 2 and a Bible 4. Bible 2 is the Gospels, and Bible 4 is the remaining part of the New Testament. When I started, I think I had about 25 students that first year, and then when Keith said, "Let's
at Statesville High School."
Well, actually, at all
oh,
three.
Between okay.
Yeah,
oh wow.
About 25 at each class.
Okay.
And so when Keith said, "Let's have you teach at Lake Norman," it was about 25, 30 students, and then they started growing to 35. And what we were noticing was a lot of students could not get into the class. We might have a few hundred spots, and we might have 400 kids signing up for the class. So this past year, I agreed to go to 50 students per class. And so we have, before the year's out, I will have taught between 290 and 300 students, for the entire year. And so we are already looking at next year, and they're already filled up and full. And we look forward to that. And
that means you're grading for 300
I'm grading
students.
a lot of stuff, and I'm grading late, I'm grading often, and there's quite a bit to do when you have more students. But I love doing it. I love having the students in my class. I love what we get to do together when we talk about the Bible with them. And I think that's the other thing that is always amazing to parents when they come to a curriculum night and they see my booth, and they're like, "How in the world do you teach Bible in a public high school?" And so
and that was going to be my next question. How we may have some listeners that are saying, we always hear, and I know my dad used to always say, when we took God out of the public school system, we really messed up.
Yeah.
So if he were here, he would be so thrilled that you're the teacher of the year.
Right.
Tell us how we can have Bible in our public school system.
So there was, I think, if I understand right, about 30 years ago, there were a group of churches that asked if they can make this happen. And through long story, there are individuals, businesses, and churches that put to this fund. It's the Iredell Statesville Schools Bible Association, which pays the majority of our salaries. So we are funded by people throughout this county and even outside of it.
So you're funded by local ministry and
local
just
churches,
local
business, and just individuals.
So you are not paid with public funds?
No, we are paid by donations. And the other thing that we do is this is a class that it's in the history umbrella, but it is an elective class. So this is not something that they have to take. It's something they choose to take. The other thing that that I stress with them, and we do this amongst all the teachers that are teaching Bible, is I am not allowed to hold my credentials as I was an ordained minister. I can't hold that. We don't preach to them. There are no, and the reason is for the credentials is so that we're not. People are not worried about us trying to invite them to a church or proselytize in any way.
Oh, okay.
That's
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that actually came from the board, from the Iredell Statesville Bible Association board. And the last thing is, they know this. It's not preaching. It's not. It's not an altar call. It is just we read through the Bible. We talk about it. We talk about its context and history, but then there's a lot of avenues that we get that make it really relevant to the students from there. So it's.
Do you talk about the Bible as it relates to current events?
Yeah, that's what I probably would say I love the most about is how to make that connect to the students in the school. So like this morning, I was in my Bible 2 class. We're finishing up, and we're in Jesus last week. And so we hit the story of Judas and how he committed suicide. Now we're doing mental health awareness.
Oh, yeah,
this week.
okay.
So I just kind of tied in and talked a little bit about, what went on with Judas and why he did that, and connect that to that's no different than what we're dealing with today. If Judas had maybe talked to somebody, even if that was Jesus himself, I think he probably wouldn't have gone down that road. And I just shared with the students this morning, listen, if that's you, all you need to do is talk to somebody. If that's me, somebody at the school. So that's just one avenue, just being able to take it something that's relevant to them.
I think that's really neat. And this is a radio show, so if you're not watching on Facebook Live, you can't see Chris's green bracelet that says mental health awareness, and he also has on a green ribbon on his lapel. And it is Mental Health Awareness Month in May. And so thank you for bringing that up today.
Yeah.
Because it is, and that's what we do talk to our children about. We talk to them about talking about how they feel.
Exactly. One more thing I could tell you that we do, and this has been something that when we hit COVID, this was something that I took more time to be more intentional about. Is they have a warm-up every morning, which is just a Bible verse that they see, they write down, and there's a question that they answer. And I usually have a theme of the verses for the week. So just a few weeks ago, I think it was on decisions, I think I put the question in the verse of the day, what's the worst decision you ever made? And when they get to the end of the week, they show me this, I graded, and I'm looking at their responses. And
so they're sharing that with you?
And this is one-on-one. So I will get some very personal information.
Wow.
And so when that
They have to feel really safe to have those conversations with you.
That's the part that I like, that they know they can trust me with that. So there were some pretty personal things that were shared that I was able to go back and say, can we talk about this for a minute? And there were some that were just, like minimal, medium things, but there were some that were more serious in nature. And I said, we need to find some help for you with it on this.
Wow.
And so that's what I like, is those things that those kids are dealing with. There's an avenue for them to share that with me. Maybe they wouldn't do it one-on-one, but they would write it in a journal like that.
Wow, that's great. Let me ask you, Chris, are there other Bible teachers in Iredell County?
Yeah, we have one in every high school. Darren Widener's in North Iredell, and Brian Goodwin is at West. We have Jamil, who's at Statesville, and then Omer McCoy is at South Iredell. So we have one in every high school. They offer the same courses, all four of them, at each of those high schools.
But when you accepted the position, however many years ago, you were the only Bible teacher at that point, or you were shared between 2 or 3 schools?
Well, those gentlemen were actually at those schools. Now, Jamil is now at Statesville, but I was at Statesville, Lake Norman, and what's Monticello at the time, the alternative school.
So now there are enough students that are interested, you're able to have a full-time teacher at those locations.
So when the interest level took off, I was able to do that, and they were able to fill somebody at Statesville and the alternative school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about, if we have any listeners that would like to donate to this association that raises funds to pay for all of these teachers. Can you tell me anything about that, or where they might look for
I wish I'd had my card with me. But if you go to Iredell Statesville Schools Bible Association, we're on Facebook. There is an address where you can send a donation to. What I could tell you is that all the donations go to the salaries. The other thing that we do is every student gets a Bible that is theirs, and we give it to them at the beginning of the class, unless they've already have one previously. That's all it pays for, is those 2 things. Which is interesting about the Bibles, we hadn't given them out in a while. And when we gave them out we decided to start doing that at Thanksgiving last semester. You would have thought it was Christmas morning in that room when they were opening these Bibles up. And the other thing I found out
you had not done it because of COVID, maybe?
Yes, because we had to go online, so there was not a way to put a hard copy in there.
Right.
So we just resumed that. And then when I realized I didn't tell the parents why these students received the Bible, I sent them an email. And in that email, I probably had 50, 60 replies, just saying thank you. But then what I didn't know was how much was going on at home, because whatever I was teaching in class, those students were going back home
and teaching their parents.
Yeah, and they were talking about whatever they learned about in class today, and so it expands more than just to the students, from what we realized out of that. So, but if anybody would like to give, and we would appreciate that, you can give to the through the Facebook site. The other thing we're trying to tell individuals in the southern end of the county is if you could approach your churches at the southern end about consider donating. That's something we're always trying to make aware to the churches in the southern end. Most of the donations come at the northern end of the county, and we're trying to recruit some of the churches at the southern end to try to come on board and partner with us in that as well.
So here's a question, and I actually, have spent a lot of time in the southern end of Iredell County, and we have a considerable community of different religions, all different religions, so many different cultures that we represent all across the county. Do you have very many students that take Bible that do not consider themselves Christian?
Yeah, so this has been an interesting number that we've had to watch. When I started out, it was around 30% of my students had no church background whatsoever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If you go in there today, it's at half. Half of my students have no familiarity with the Bible, no familiarity with church whatsoever.
Wow.
They're coming in just pretty blind with that. And we let them know at the very beginning, it doesn't matter where you believe, if you're anywhere from an atheist to the whole spectrum, which I've had all that. We respect each other's beliefs no matter what. And there's, you don't have to try to appease me, worry about what I think, because I said, it's where you are is where you are.
We're talking about this book from a historical perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and if you don't believe in that, that's fine. If you do, that's fine too. And it's really set the tone, and it is amazing to me that those kids will show that respect, regardless of their belief systems.
So, Chris, you and I probably hear a lot, everything's going bad, and we've got bad kids in the world, and kids are not being taught right anymore, and violence, and, distrust, and all those things. As someone that goes to Lake Norman High School every day and works with 15, 16, 17, sometimes 18-year-old kids, what's your viewpoint on that?
I don't agree with that about the state of our kids. I would say
I don't either. And so let's restore their faith in our kids today.
I think we have wonderful students. I think they're no different than when I was in high school.
Right.
They're dealing with the same issues. Now there's different, obviously social media, those kind of things have changed the dynamics around that. But I have got wonderful students. I love coming to work. I love seeing my students. I love standing at the door, greeting them when they come in. I love just getting to know about them and sharing my life with them. I love going to their sporting events and being part of their lives. And I would say, if you really want to know what the students are like, come spend a day in my class.
Yeah.
And you would see, I think it's a lot different than what's getting portrayed.
It would make it'll make you feel
us.
good about where we're going, won't it?
Yes.
Yeah, there are a lot of really, really good kids that we serve every single day.
There are a lot of terrific students there. There are.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for your service to our community. Thank you for your friendship. Chris and Bonnie Ald and we've sat through some baseball games together over
Quite a
the
bit.
years.
Hot weekends together.
Yep, quite a few hot weekends together. And again, teaching is the noblest calling.
It is.
And I'm so grateful for you, and it actually restores my faith in the teaching profession to hear somebody say, I love getting to interact with my kids every day, and I love the energy and the positive vibe that they bring to me every day.
Yes.
So thank you and your wife for all that you do to serve our community.
Well, thank you for having me today. I'm so glad we could take time to share this with you today, and it's a real honor to get this reward this year. So.
Yeah, and we're going to look forward to the next level of Teacher of the Year.
Yes,
all right.
Yes.
All right. Go Chris Ald. Have a great day, everybody.